Everywhere you look, modern discourse demands a choice. You are either on the side of rational scientific progress, or you are clinging to religious history. It is presented as an absolute binary. We often hear the phrase scientific temper used as a wall. It becomes a tool to dismiss indigenous traditions, spiritual philosophies, or alternative viewpoints as inherently unscientific and backward. This forces modern Indians into a difficult corner. Viewing heritage through this rigid, imported lens usually results in one of two reactions: a fragile, literal-minded pride that tries to defend every ancient story as hard scientific fact, or a total rejection of the cultural past. But this assumes we are reading history correctly. Indian knowledge systems, or IKS, function less like a static collection of myths and more like an adaptable operating system designed for problem-solving. Reframing IKS as a methodology moves civilizational pride away from defensive posturing. It acknowledges that these systems are active, living contributors to human welfare today. Take Tamil Nadu's high human resource rankings. One driver of this was the midday meal scheme, championed by leaders like Kamaraj to boost school attendance and student welfare. This program reflects the civilizational logic of the ancient Gurukula. Leaders like Kamaraj were rooted in a culture where society holds the responsibility to nourish its students, the ancient principle of Bhiksha. When a student is nourished by their community, they develop a profound, internalized indebtedness. This framework builds a lifelong commitment to societal welfare directly into the educational experience. We see the results of this mindset in India's highest technological sectors. Many of the scientists driving national space programs emerge from government schools, carrying an ingrained duty to give back to the society that supported them. This community-nourished mindset is personified by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. His contributions were driven by this exact sense of societal debt. Adapting ancient social codes in this way generates tangible modern human capital. In this context, IKS operates as a structural driver of national progress. This applied wisdom extends to the physical sciences. Decades ago, genetics faced a conceptual roadblock. Researchers struggled to understand how genetic material could remain consistent generation after generation while simultaneously creating endless variation. Physicist Erwin Schrödinger wrestled with this problem. He needed a logical way to reconcile this duality of conservation and variation in biology. Schrödinger found a solution in the ancient Indian texts of Vedanta. By applying the IKS framework of unity in diversity, he resolved this biological paradox in his influential book, What is Life? This Vedantic approach provided the logical bridge that allowed James Watson and Francis Crick to envision the physical structure of the DNA double helix. This aligns with the work of physicists like Dr. E.C. George Sudarshan. He utilized the Vishnu Sahasranama to frame scientific investigation as sadhana, a spiritual practice where exploring the universe is like exploring the sacred body of the divine. When a civilization treats rational inquiry and spiritual philosophy as complementary, it gains the cognitive tools necessary for major scientific breakthroughs. We see this mechanism in conservation today. While surrounding landscapes show the heavy scars of quarrying, the Marudhamala Hill remains lush, supporting an ecosystem of over 118 medicinal herb species. The hill's survival is linked to a Puranic oral tradition, attributing its creation to Hanuman. This story acts as a functional eco-dharmic shield that has protected the site for generations. Demanding literal, historical accuracy from these stories destroys their functional utility. These narratives were never meant to be read as news reports, but as poetic guides for social and ecological behavior. Interpreting these stories poetically embeds environmental protection directly into the collective unconscious, bypassing the need for state mandates. Social welfare, scientific inquiry, and ecology all rely on a core principle of the Indian knowledge system, theodiversity. Just as biodiversity keeps a biological ecosystem from collapsing, theodiversity acts as an ideological buffer. It prevents human societies from destroying themselves over unidimensional worldviews. IKS achieves this by harmonizing seemingly opposite ideas. It treats the formless concept of the universe, Nirguna Brahman, and the intimate, personal deity, Saguna Brahman, as interconnected and equally valid paths. This cognitive flexibility natively diffuses the theological frictions that had historically fueled global conflicts. It allows a culture to accept that the same truth manifests in countless forms. Embracing Indian knowledge systems is an act of employing this non-dualistic wisdom to the modern challenges of sustainable development, innovation, and universal human resilience.